Hey guys, Jackie Mumfree, the real estate maven, and coming to you again once again in the car, and just wanted to share some thoughts that I have here about the real estate market and some tips for sellers today. It is August 2019, and it looks as though things are still doing pretty well for sellers. There is talk in the market right now of a coming recession or downturn or valuation depreciation of homes in our market. And although I am seeing a ton of price reductions, I don't really think that has anything to do with the market. I think it has more so to do with the just to deal with sellers asking too much for their properties, which is a thing that will always be until the end of time. Any house in this market right now, with as good as things are going for sellers, if they overprice a house, you can still overprice a house in a seller's market, and if it's sitting on the market for more than 30 days, and if everything else around you in your area is selling, that is equivalent to your property. And if you're getting a ton of showings and no offers, it usually is indicative of either doing something to correct the condition of the home or the price. So if you're attracting a ton of people to your home, they are coming because of the location, they're coming because of the price, and they're coming because of how the property is placed on the internet, the presentation of it. It's captioning of pictures, what the agent may have stylized in the marketing. But when they get there and they don't want to write offers, then it's something to do with the condition, or it's just overpriced for the condition. Then you just got to take care of those things. And a price reduction doesn't typically handle everything that would help make a home sell. Sometimes just cleaning the property makes all the difference in the world, because people at the end of the day like clutter free and they like clean. It doesn't always have to be in stellar condition as far as the repairs, but people do have a thing about cleanliness, so keep that in mind. But right now, things are still doing pretty well for most sellers, especially if they, have a good condition and they're priced right. Their houses are selling pretty quickly, and no real complaints about the market. It is slowing down to normal. It is not slowing down, in my opinion, as a recession, unless the powers that run our economy decide that they want a depression, or if they want a recession, then those things would happen. But as of right now, we don't have any lack of buyer confidence in the buyer's market as a whole. Now, of course, every market across the country is different, but here in Atlanta, Georgia, real estate is still selling every single day. Bidding wars are happening every single day, and you never know how long it's going to last. But as of right now, sellers are doing well. I am getting a handful of buyers who are seeking foreclosures, and I'm going to save that for another video. But the foreclosures are pretty much just as expensive, in some instances even more expensive, than the homes that they're competing with around them. So, people still have this 2008 syndrome still in their head 11 years later, as to, I'm gonna get a deal out there. No, baby, that market's gone. That's long gone right now. So, and we don't plan on seeing that anytime soon, where houses are selling for $7,000 in some places here in Atlanta Metro. Granted, they weren't like move-in ready homes or anything that most people would consider anything to live in. A lot of those houses were picked up by investors and rented out, and now they're selling them and they're making a killing on them. But I did also want to touch upon sellers and what they are anticipating or should be anticipating, and I kind of touched upon it a little bit, that the market for sellers is doing pretty good right now. But for the ones who aren't selling, usually what I'm seeing is a projection of price way over what any realm of possibility of what the public would pay for a house. And I'm finding, like, even in some of the lower end neighborhoods, I'm finding like price swings are like $20,000, $30,000. I'm like, if your house is worth 150, or if the houses in your neighborhood are worth 150, and all the other houses are pretty much the same, like I say, that's what they're selling. And unless you have something that has significantly more value, like a full finished basement on over an acre of land, 4-side brick with a pool, then your 4-side vinyl home that's 1,700 square feet, which is the mirror image of every third house in the neighborhood, and if everything else is selling in a range of 145 to say 155, your house is not going to be worth 180 unless you put $30,000 worth of something in it, or if it's sitting on platinum instead of dirt like everyone else's. That's usually, you know, the kind of thing that I see. Well, my house is different. My house is better. I've taken care of my house. Yeah, you've taken care of it, but you haven't taken care of it to the extent of a $30,000 upswing in value, especially if you're competing with other houses in your neighborhood that are identical. And I'm not saying like houses that are dissimilar, like you've got a luxury home sitting in, which can very well happen in Atlanta, in Buckhead, $1 million home sitting next to $500,000 house, and a person in $500,000 said, well, you know, mine's really worth 600. Well, you know, you kind of have that little bit of a wiggle room in there in that valuation, just because it's a hodgepodge. But when the appraiser comes, they're going to really knock everybody to their knees and be like, no, it's worth this based on the square footage, the bedrooms, the condition, location, and all that other stuff. But if you're in a cookie cutter neighborhood, you're going to be hard pressed to try to find an extra $30,000 in value. Your buyers now can, you know, they go on to these website portals like Realtor.com and Trulia and Zillow and all these other sites, and they get, you know, valuation models on their computer all day long. Like if they save your listing on the website, say it's Zillow, then anytime there's anything that changes with that listing, they get an indication of. If there's a change in the value, they get an indication of according to Zillow. And people, for some reason, love relying on Zillow quite a bit. Even my investors do, for some strange reason. They look at it as, you know, a guide as to where they should be on value, but a lot of sellers rely very heavily on that. I've been in listing presentations where I go and I pitch a seller and hiring me and my services to sell their house, and I'll come up with a number, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's like $3,000 more than what Zillow said. I'm like, what? Zillow didn't say anything. Zillow is like an algorithm that spits out a value based on square footage. They don't take into account the location of where the house is specifically. They don't take in consideration your upgrades of your hardwood floors, or your house may be needing new carpet or anything like that, because they don't come to your house. It's just a wild guess. And so the fact that, you know, the Zillow valuation came close to mine, I would rather say, you know, is not so surprising per se. But then again, sometimes it is. Actually, sometimes it is, because sometimes these Zillow valuations are off by like 35%. You're like, what? This house will never go for $1 million. It's only worth $700,000. Anyway, what I'm finding though is that this is what I'd like to say to a seller that I just would never say, I guess, to their face. Is like, if you listen to me in my guidance based on my experience, we can get you sold. But if you want to do it your way and control things like condition, which you have control over, but condition, and don't want to clean the house. I mean, literally just clean the house. You don't want to mow the grass. You only want showings on Sundays between 12 and 1:30. No open houses. You know, you don't want anybody to see the house if you haven't made the bed. You don't want anybody to see the house because you didn't put the dogs out. Or you don't feel like showing today because you just don't feel like showing. Or any of these number of reasons why houses don't sell. They get stuck on a price in their mind because they say, well, I need to sell at this price because I need the money to pay off this bill, buy that house, go on this vacation, pay off that trip, pay off that medical bill. You can't use your house like a credit card. The market does not care what you need to do with your money after you sell the house. It doesn't care. So you can't expect a buyer to either pay for your upgrades that you chose for yourself. You can't expect a buyer to want to come in and fix the repairs that your house needs. You have to present a product that it's going to sell. It is the market. When you put your property on the market, you throw it at the market and see what the market will bear for your property in its condition, location, and how it's presented online. So a couple of other things that you guys could do if you're selling a house or about to sell a house is have friends come over, have your neighbors come over. Some people cringe at that. Have your neighbors come over, or even several real estate agents that you're considering, to hire, and have them to be 100% bald-faced, honest with you about how your house looks, how it smells, and the condition, and work on that, because that's going to be the impression that your buyers have. Buyers will pay more money to get a house, like in a competing situation, if they feel that the house is worth it. They won't get a bidding war over your house if they don't feel that it's worth it or feel like it's a prize. And funny enough, I get sellers that say, well, I can, that we can always come down in price, or they can always throw an offer on it. That's not how buyers think. They don't think that way. Oh, let's just throw an offer on it. Usually, if that does happen, that's by the encouragement of the realtor, not the buyer, because they are comparing your house to everything else they've seen online, and comparing your house to everything else they've seen in person. And the house that they like the most that they couldn't get, for instance, is the benchmark in which they compare everything else to, including your house. So those are just a couple of things, guys, that were on my mind that I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions about the market, or what's going on in your neck of the woods for your particular house, let me know. I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Jackie Bumfree, the Real Estate Maven. I'll talk to you soon.